One couple hoped their wedding would start their happily ever after, but 7 years, one child, and countless financial aid, familial entanglements later, their I do's had turned into we can'ts. Here to fill us in on their happy divorce is Nikki Debartolo and Ben Heldfold. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
All right, we're hearing about a happy divorce. Sometimes those are two words that people don't really put together. But why is that?
I think that it's, the word divorce equals ugly, especially when the era that I grew up in, my parents got divorced in the early 80s. The norm was to have an adversarial divorce. So I think when you hear the words happy and divorce, kind of makes your head go sideways.
Like, how can that be?
How can that be?
Right.
Right.
And it's a little harder that way. I mean, it's easier to have adversarial reactions to a divorce than it is to try to do what we're doing.
Yeah.
Right. And so you guys have this book. It's called Our Happy Divorce, and how ending our marriage brought us together. Tell me, how did that happen? You came together.
We did. I think for me, it was a matter of realizing that before we got married, we were best friends. Mm-hmm. There was a period of time where we were not best friends during our marriage.
Right.
But we had to just figure out a way to get back to that place for us to become best friends again. And I mean, it took a lot of work, a lot of therapy, but we made it.
Yeah. I think if you had asked us 12 years ago, 13 years ago, whatever it was, when we got divorced, what our goal would have been, I think it would have been just to be in the same room together and not have that palatable tension that you have, around divorced couples. Mm-hmm. But that was our goal. We overshot that goal for a long time.
That's great. So you had this goal, like how to figure out how to get back to that friendship. What do you say are the keys to a happy divorce?
Yeah, I think it's first, what we had to do was admit that we both had a part in the ending of the marriage. It's no one person's fault.
No matter what happens, it's not one person's fault.
Right.
There's two people that
break something.
You have to own your own stuff.
It takes two to make it,
Definitely
takes two to break it, right? And then we made amends to each other, apologized for each other's parts, and then forgave each other. And then we decided to put our son first. Right. And every decision we made had to answer the question of what's best for Asher, not what's best for us, because that's where it goes bad, is when you start making decisions on ego and what's best for you and not your child, and that's how the kids get caught in the middle of it.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is something that a lot of couples struggle with, because you have this child and you don't want them to be affected, but inevitably they are going to be affected in some way. So if you can figure out a way to be a happy divorced couple, it really helps.
It does.
It does, and no pun intended, but the sobering moment for me was about 2 years ago. Our son said, "This divorce is really hard on me." Mm-hmm. And I felt like saying, my first reaction was like, you have no idea what a bad divorce is. But then it hit me, like, even as good as it is, we live 5 houses down from each other. Right. We go on family vacations together. Her and I just got back from a trip to Africa with just the 3 of us, not our spouses. So,
for 2 weeks.
So it's a great situation. But even with that, it's still hard on them, because a kid's first choice wouldn't be for his parents not to be together.
Right.
Right.
To bounce back and forth from house to house.
To have to go to different houses exactly. So even as good as it is, it's still hard on them. So
but it can work.
But it works.
It can work.
It can.
It can.
What else are people going to learn from your book? I mean, what other kind of information are they going to get that they might find helpful?
For me, I think it was, in order for me to get to any position to accept this relationship and to actually be friends again, I had to figure out what to do with my own ego. And so my ego had to be left someplace else, because as long as you have an ego, you can't do what's best for your kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think it takes 2 special people to be able to swallow their ego, swallow some pride, and figure out for their kids, and just probably for your own sanity and how you're going to make this work.
And then it takes, because we're both remarried, it takes 2 other people to coming in the situation, right? So Nikki and I were a bicycle trying to figure this thing out, 2 people. Then we brought 2 other people in who, now made it a car, who have to do the same thing, and it all has to work together. And they've been great, because they've put their ego aside and they've bought into what's best for Asher. I don't think they would be in our lives if they weren't best for Asher. Like, if they were going to be a destructive force, Nikki and I were so committed to this process that they wouldn't have been a part of it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. Where can people go for more info?
OurHappyDivorce.com.
Yep, and everything's social at Our Happy Divorce.
Yes.
Great. Thanks for coming on,
Thank
guys.
you for having us.
This interview involves commercial content. The products and services featured appear as paid advertising.